Hey there, YouTube. Good Wednesday morning. Back again for another vlog today. Woo! As usual, the vlogs keep going. The stuff keeps getting listed. Today's no exception. Let's get into it. Here are 4 items that I've left on my desk that still need to be listed. 3 of them are kind of parts type lenses, and I guess this one's pretty good. It's just missing the focusing ring rubber. So I'm going to be getting those listed right at first. After that, I have those 2 up there, and then I'm going to go get a new tote from downstairs. All the Nikon lenses, see what we have exactly there. So without further ado, let's get those listed up. Okay, after lunch, shortly later, there are the 4 items listed. It took a little bit too long, but I got them up. Parts, lenses, and all that. So anyway, I'm going to edit a vlog here quick. I got to try and get 2 up today, if not a little bit more, because I really need to try and catch up. Once you fall behind, it's hard to catch back up, which is not very good. But anyway, I guess after that, we're going to go downstairs and grab some Nikon lenses. Should be some real good stuff in there. Grab a couple more pieces like that are going to be really high-end and really good. I think I have a Rolleiflex down there I grab, along with all these here. And then let's get the listing going. Today is the big listing day, according to Dealer, and also according to me. Let's get going. Exciting days in the Dealer's special treasure closet downstairs, which I just visited and grabbed a bunch of different things here. Got to see what some of these price out at, but there should be some really good stuff, including like 9 Hasselblad backs. So those are always really decent. Some really oddball adapter pieces, like that right there. And I'm not sure what Dealer did with this other tote, but I guess there's another tote here somewhere too. It's all super good stuff. All super crazy. Oh, there it is. Kone Omega, Rolleiflex, some Nikon lenses, all that. Coming up soon after I finish editing this vlog. And there we go. We are caught back up to the Thursday vlog for last week. Oh man, I think we're still 3 behind. So I got to get another one edited today at least, if not 2. I think I'm going to take a look at that after this. Basically, after I shoot like 5 vlogs or something, I gotta delete all the footage and delete it all because my little hard drive on my computer, my SSD and my MacBook is only 500 gigabytes, and that fills up pretty quick, so I gotta wipe that, and then I'll download the new footage and see how that looks on there. Probably get 1 more edited before supper time, and then it's time to get into these items here. I think right now, in the dead time between getting that vlog ready and get it up, I'm actually going to get the chargers ordered for those cameras right there, so let's do that. Okay, after supper, went outside with the kids for a little while, had some outside time, which I definitely need to do a little bit more lately. Got all this stuff here, chargers ordered for those. Got some coffee with some ice cubes in it, so that's cooling off for a minute. And then next up, I have that stuff right there. Let's get that laid on the table and see exactly what we have to list for the first 20 items. Let's just go 20 at a time and see what we have. First thing I was just kind of working on randomly was ordering those chargers. Is this 100mm macro lens, which is always a good sign. Macro lenses always tend to be pretty good. They're pretty much just super close-up lenses. I actually want to get one of these for my photo setup eventually. They're like $600 to $800 for the newest autofocus model, which I mean, that's pretty pricey. But on the whole scheme of lenses and all that, it's pretty cheap actually. I mean, a lot of prime lenses are in the $2,000 range nowadays. But anyway, this is the vintage equivalent, and this was actually real nice shape. The one issue that we had with this one, and the reason we got it so cheap, is because it had a filter stuck on it, which that's not the filter, that's just the outer thing. There's what's left of the filter ring. I'm not sure if you can see that, I think it's still a little bit blurry. But anyway, there is what's left of the filter ring, and our filter extraction method has been kind of refined throughout the years. In this case, I did accidentally leave a small little chip in the finish on the filter ring, but most of the time you can get off there without damaging it at all. But be a little bit more careful. But basically, in this case, there's actually a small retaining ring, which you're able to unscrew, take the glass out, and then you're able to just twist this away with the pliers carefully. If it's a sturdier filter ring, which we encounter from time to time, then it's going to be more difficult. And occasionally you'll have to use power tools, etc. This one is pretty easy, came up pretty easy. It's just a modern filter. Anything like super professional, sometimes you'll get a real tough filter that's really hard to get off. But in this case, gained a lot of value on the lens, got that filter off, and there we go. So now this lens is all ready to be listed up and should be a pretty decent one. I'll definitely show off filter extraction next time I do it though, because it is kind of interesting. In a lot of cases, you want that retained ring to screw out, and you actually have to break the glass and then twist it off there, which that can result in some other issues if you don't do it correctly. So I don't know, I'll show that sometime. It doesn't happen very often, but when we do find one stuck on the lens like that, I do take whatever steps are necessary to get it off. Okay, all these items spread out here late as usual. Late as has been recently. And this week is push week, so that makes sense. Next week is rest week, so this week is the week to stay up, get some stuff done, get a bunch listed, all that kind of stuff. Here are a bunch of lenses, half of them are Nikon, and there's a couple oddballs mixed in there, like this Canon lens, which is going to be pretty decent. So Leica lens back there, which has potential, have a couple Graflex lenses, and we have this thing right here. This definitely intrigues me, because this is what I would call a rebuilt piece, or a remanufactured piece, or a custom piece, or something like that. Made probably between 1945 and 1960, judging from the exact amount on the back. And I don't know exactly what this fits. As you can see, there's no optical elements in there. It's just a straight up brass lens barrel, kind of reminiscent of what you'd see anywhere from the 1880s to around 1925. But it has a reworked knob right here. It's plastic, so it has to be a little bit newer. And this all looks original though, this actual outer barrel of the lens, no markings on it that I can find or anything. Let me disassemble this thing real quick though. Okay, and here it all is. This is it all disassembled. As you can see, this piece here screws into that piece, and that screws into this adapter, which is on top of the lens. This adapter seems either welded or glued in place. I'm not going to really try and force that to get that off because I don't want to break the focusing mechanism right here, as I assume it's not the sturdiest thing in the world. It is susceptible to like the twisting rotation. You might actually knock it off track, but let's see if I can focus it here quickly, one-handed. So that can be super easy. Well, let's try it out. This lens and all the adapters are all brass, aside from a couple pieces. This lens barrel is brass. This piece here is either chrome plated brass or something similar. Only the handle here I don't think is brass. It's just some sort of metal and then plastic on the end. This is a nickel plated or something similar exact amount adapter made out of brass. And these two pieces here are made out of brass. It's almost too nice to be like a full one-off custom job. So I'm going to probably post this to a photo forum and see if they can tell me anything more. That's one of the tricks I use occasionally, like photo.net. They have a forum. And I try to post this in the large format / random group or something like that. And ask if anybody can help me identify it. Sometimes it'll take up to a month, but sometimes you'll get a very, very useful response very quickly. That'll tell you exactly what this is, when it was made, and all that. So I'm pretty sure I'll post it up there. It could be a couple $100 piece, or it could be a $60 to $100 piece. So I guess we'll see. Either way, it's a very, very unique adapter. I'm not sure what it's for, and just all in all, odd find for sure. I like finding stuff like that and kind of trying to do the research into it. It's kind of annoying when there's no brand names, or if it is a completely one-off piece, that can be annoying to try and sell it. But this one's pretty identifiable. It has a exact amount, a brass turn of the century to 1920s kind of projector lens barrel mount with focusing, and it's got this strange adapter on top which allows you to adapt two different types of lenses to it, which I've yet to identify exactly what type of lenses are. Maybe it goes to a microscope, maybe it goes to telescope. I mean, there's so many different applications you could use this short throw focusing thing for. It's like a small bellows or something for certain applications. So anyway, that's just an interesting item. Like I said, I'm going to post it up to the photo forums. Other than that, I guess this is all pretty fairly normal stuff. Let's get it tested, let's get it clean, let's get up and listed. Gonna be up late tonight, but got to get some stuff done in that time. So let's be efficient, let's get it going. Wow, this lens right here is really interesting. This, as you can see on the front, it says Hugo Meyer & Co. Görlitz Sats Plasmat 13.5 centimeter f4.5, and that has some interesting markings on the side. As you can see, it says 32 centimeters f11 on that side, and it says 22 centimeters f8 on that side. So what exactly does that mean? Well, this is what they would call a convertible lens. Basically, it was like your zoom lens of the real olden days. These are a little bit more affordable than the real high-end lenses, and it gave you the access to 3 focal lengths, which was really desirable back then. Instead of buying 3 lenses, you'd buy this one, and sure, I mean, the image quality is not going to be super, super crazy good compared to a single focal length lens, but by switching around the elements, it'll allow you to have 3 different focal lengths, which is really desirable. And this one in particular is a pretty rare one. As you can see there, a Sats Plasmat. This one actually has a case and a couple other accessories, but that one's sold for $525. 0 listed right now, $525 one sold for, and this one didn't sell for $500, and then it did sell for $315 at auction. So that's a real good one. I'm probably going to end up listing that right around $450. I'll have to check the optical condition and all that. Obviously, these are a lot easier to clean than any newer lens. I just easily disassemble this one, and it's actually meant to come apart because it's a convertible lens. I'm not gonna be able to do it one-handed, obviously, but you screw off the back element, screw off the front element, and you can get right in there and clean as much as possible. So scratches are going to obviously still be there, but any sort of coating flaws and things like that can possibly be cleaned off. Fungus, haze, and any of that sort of stuff. And then, of course, if the shutter works, it's going to be a little bit of a bonus, but it's not the most important thing. Let me see here if I have it set correctly. I might not. Well, first impression doesn't seem to work. but let me just play around with it here a little bit and see if I can get it working. Either way, that is a pretty rare lens and definitely better than expected for a Graflex lens like that. Minimum $350 after all sales, discounts, all that. Should sell pretty quick too. This one is actually a more traditional kind of Graflex type lens. Probably sell this one for $80 to $100. Just very, very basic. Came off a 4x5 speed graphic and they sell pretty well. This lens here that I was showing before predates that one by probably 30 to 40 years. So that's the difference there. This one's probably made in the 1920s to 1930s. Well, these ones were made all the way through the 1960s. So a little bit of an age difference there. Now let's have an interesting look up here. Let's look up this Leica lens. In Leica lenses, the smaller the lens, the more it's worth. That's the general rule of thumb. If you have a big, long Leica lens, most of them aren't worth anything. If you have a gigantic Leica lens, those are probably worth something. But it's not all down to lens size, but certain ones are worth more than others in different sizes than others. And generally, rule of thumb, with some Leica lenses, is smaller is better. But I guess we'll see. You really gotta like this early embossed Leica plastic cap though. A lot of these were actually in metal, and the plastic ones are actually a lot rarer. Could probably get like $80 just for that right there with the earlier logo. It's not quite, it's definitely hand stamped, but it's not quite hand engraved like some really early Leica things we've had, but it's definitely right up there. As you can see, it's an Elmar 9cm f4. Let's take a look and try and find it. And as expected, that is much better than your average, not super desirable, I don't know, $80 to $100 Leica lens. Some in the bubble, people are trying to get up to like $330. They're not going to get that. It's just one of those high-end Leica sellers that tries to get more. And of course with Leica and a lot of other ones, there's some weird variations and things where some of those go for a lot more. There's apparently a, what do they call that there, collapsible lens, and a couple other ones that fit that. But just looking at here, I'd say that's going to go for right around $200. I'll look it up a couple different other ways, but with the cap and the bubble, like I'm going to include it, $200. Should take that home. And of course, the market is pretty much dried up, at least buying these in the wild now, unless you go into the middle of nowhere and get lucky. These little point-and-shoot cameras don't look like much, but you'd be surprised how much they go for. They're definitely, the market's getting a little bit saturated, and they are going down in value a little bit. But any made-in-Japan compact camera with a fixed lens, so not a zoom lens, from the 90s with a really recognizable brand name, namely like the Olympus, the XA1 is like on the early side of that. They made the Stylus Epic Deluxe, and they had a couple other ones, and those just go for really good money. I mean, 100 plus on the Olympus ones here. MT100 on the low end of that, but we paid like $1 at a thrift store, 50 cents. And that right there is going to be listed and sell quick at $60. So that's a pretty good find. They are a bit hard to identify which ones go really well, and the majority which really don't go very well. But point and shoots have been up for a couple of years, which is interesting. Not necessarily normal ones. These ones are the only ones that we really try and spend our money on. Found some interesting Ricos, some Carl Zeiss, and some of those before, and some of those can go for an upwards of $500 to $1,000. Some of the Carl Zeiss ones and Contacts. Those are rare. I have to tell you that. We don't find those in the field much. But these ones, pretty common. Definitely a lot more common a couple years back before the big boom. But we still find them every now and again. And then we have a Rolleiflex, which I believe is a standard. I don't know off the top of my head, but it has a smaller knob on it, so I'm assuming that's a standard. And a Rolleicord, also from around the same time period. Look those both up, see if we have any interesting varieties. This one needs some major lens cleaning, haze cleaning, as you can see right there. I did some minor testing / clean out already. Then we have a Topcon RE Super. These are really good cameras. The top of the line Topcon. And there's one little bit higher end model, but the RE Super is the one you want to look for, and that is a satisfying shutter sound right there. Just want to give you a sound sample of that. Thing is really sounding nice for its age and everything else. So this one will be fully tested and sold. We sold one a while back with a lens and some accessories and the whole kit and caboodle for like $650 or $700 back in the real early days. Like one of our first big money purchases, big money sales. I think we paid like $80 for it or something. Sold it for $800. It was a really good flip. But they went down a little bit from then, and they're still very desirable, especially in nice shape. And this one is, got a lot of Topcon stuff recently. We have a lot in stock, but that's good stuff to have in stock because it will trickle over the next couple of years for huge profit. And then we just have the bulk of the miscellaneous Nikon lenses. These tend to be probably in the $40 range on average, a little bit better on some. We have this This is actually for Olympus, but this is a Vivitar 100mm macro lens. I think I highlighted that before. Really nice, removed the filter on it. So, gotta definitely have some highlights in there and some good lenses in there in general. So anyway, I guess all that's left to do now is to get them cleaned, pictured, and then listed. Let's make it happen. Just wanted to go through a couple more of those before I really get into it. One of the nicest things I find about at least the older Nikon lenses is that they're very, very easy to field test. And by field test, I mean if you find one of these at a flea market or something, you can test it right then and there. There's this little silver screw on the back there. If I move the focusing ring, as you can see, that moves. And that's the first thing. Move the focus in and out. Does it seem smooth? Does that little thing move effortlessly? And how loose is the focusing ring? If it's on the loose side, that's good. If it's really tight, then it probably is not going to work correctly. Second thing to check is the zoom. Does the zoom move all the way in and out? Standard on any lens. And then third thing is the aperture. Aperture move well. And then look at that little pad of contacts right there. Does it seem off? Does it seem like there's a big gap on any side there? I mean, that little gap there on the one side is fine. But the only one small issue I've ever found on one of these Nikon lenses that can't be detected through this testing method is there are some Sigma lenses where this little panel right here was able to slide down into the lens a little bit too far and make it so it won't make contact with the camera. So I still will test them all on a camera, but it's not necessary for field testing 99% of the time. If it passes all its basic testing, if the focus screw moves effortlessly, the aperture moves well, and that little focus thing seems intact and not missing, and of course just basic things like optical and mechanical and all that. Very, very easy to mechanically test these because there's no actual electronics or focus motors inside the lens except for the aperture information, which is sent by this little thing right there. Trying to find the other type here, but unless you find a newer lens, you won't have a built-in focus motor, which I don't think we have any right here. I mean, like, this lens is not for the normal Nikon digital cameras. This is actually a Nikon 1 system lens, but it's the same sort of rear mount you'd find on a later Nikon lens. As you can see, no actual focus screw thing to test. So this one you will have to attach to the camera to test. But other than that, these ones are very easy to field test. The earlier Nikon lenses made all the way up to like 2008 or something. I think they even made them past that. They might still make some today with the focus screw. But that's how I test them in the field. Now I'm actually going to grab one of those bodies up there and get it fully tested, because that's important. Okay, I might as well vlog my way through this, since I'm sure somebody will find it interesting. How do I clean a lens, or how do I go about cleaning a lens? On this one, I already knocked the first layer of dust, dirt, grime off of that one, but as you can see, it's still pretty hazy. You can see the sharp blades behind there. There's definitely some haze in the lens, so it's going to be determining is on the front element, is on the rear element, is inside the elements where I can't really get to. In this case, we're going to have to find out. As you can see in the actual lens thing there, let me try and focus it there. This is an early enough design. We can actually screw out each element. This one here in the back is not going to be able to screw out. It's a little bit harder. I mean, you might be able to get it. It has that little coin edge on there. This one, though, has those notches as well as the coin edge, so I can definitely get that one out of there. The proper tool will be a lens spanner, but I tend to just use like fingers and a cloth or something similar like that, and usually you can get it out with that. Otherwise, I will try and get a lens spanner, but I don't know. I don't usually need them for this kind of application, but anyway, try and screw that lens out and see what the damage is behind there. It's already looking a little bit better after you get that first coat of haze off. This one's not quite as bad, so you can kind of see what we want to have as a finished product. That one still has minor haze, but you can see the shutter blade's a lot clearer behind there. This one has some interesting wear patterns, like it was really well used with somebody with really acidic fingers or something. All the chrome plating is worn off down to the brass on the main mount there. And of course, this is the 1 in 100 case where I have to get out the lens spanner and take a shot at this thing. I really tried to get out of there without it, but it was not moving. And I did have to reassemble this thing. But here is what I use as a lens spanner. It's kind of an interesting DIY setup that I've come up with over time. Lens spanners aren't cheap. This one here is a real cheap one. I think it still cost like $50 or $60 or $70 a few years back. The real expensive ones cost in the few $100 range, if not even a little bit more. It's really crazy. So this is kind of the way that I've customized mine. There used to be 2 bars that go through here. They're never very solid. They're really hard to work with and all that. So I replaced this one with a flat type Allen key, so you can have a flat face for these to go onto. Helps with the anti-torsion stuff. And then this right here kind of works as a breaker bar for certain ones like this that are really, really tough. And then at the bottom, these are the stock ones that come with it. The bits work fairly well. I don't bring this thing out often, but when I do, it usually works. So I guess that worked. Got that open. If you can see, it's unscrewed more than it was before. I say I don't repair cameras, and I do not repair them mechanically, but the optics, if you can, I will try and repair them. Which in this case is one of those cases where you actually can. And as you can see, this thing is still pretty tight, even though I have broken it loose, it'll move, but it's going to take a little while to get out of there. I examined it with the flashlight though. Most of the haze is on the inside of the lens on both front and rear elements, so hopefully I can remove the majority of that. And that'll add some resale value to this camera, probably like $80 to $100, which would be pretty good. Oh no, the Wheeler Vlogmas stage. I purposely threaded it back in there a little bit so I get it coming out, but there it is. There is your optical element group that makes up the front. Pretty hazy looking on the inside of that. Pretty hazy through there. Let's take a look at the other side here. If you actually open the shutter there, you should be able to see some more haze. I need a flashlight on that to really show it, really dramatize it. But there's a shot through actual elements there. It doesn't look too bad from right there, but it's pretty hazy. And here you go, the lens is back in. This top lens couldn't come out, so that's not super well clean. But let's try to get this flashlight set up and show you exactly how it looks now. Should have given a better before picture, but let's try this out. There's the after shot. Very minor haze left in there, and it's mainly on the front element just due to kind of coating scratches and coating haze on the front. All of it's been removed from the back and the inner workings of the lens. So that's great. Successful operation. And when you can't really see through the flashlight, obviously. Much better. Ready to list. Okay, just going through and finishing cleaning up all these lenses right here. It is pretty late. I ate some food and was just having kind of a relaxing break thing there, and now I'm back to work. But anyway, this right here, this Hugo Mayer & Co. Gorlitz lens I was showing before, this actually has some really interesting stuff in here. I really like dealing with some of the old high-end stuff because that was where most of the innovation actually happened. And in this case, this is something I've never seen before in one of these types of lenses. Let's see if I do this one-handed here. There we go. So you move the element a little bit. Most of the time it would screw out. This one, on the other hand, it's in a quick release system. You have to remember this is from the 1920s or 30s, so that has to be pretty darn innovative. Look at that right there. It's got these fine threads right here, and then it's got a blank section there, and then more fine threads. And when you actually drop it in there, you seat it correctly. So let's see here. Kind of turn it the other direction, it seats in, you turn it, and now it's locked. There's no moving it there, it's not going to fall out on you or anything. Wow, that is actually really, really cool. It has to be one of the earliest quick release systems I've seen in a lens type thing like that. I actually haven't seen many of those at all. So, like I said, it's always in the higher end / higher end brand type things. We'll see that kind of interesting innovation, and just something I haven't seen before. Really interesting. And that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to camera stuff. Like I just learned about these, the combination lenses I was talking about here. I only learned about those probably a year or two ago, even though I've been doing camera stuff for a long time. So just keep on learning, and you always find interesting things if you do it long enough. Okay, so other than that, I guess all these lenses here are all cleaned up, ready to go. I'm going to get the cameras cleaned up, then I'm going to take a bunch of photos, then I'm going to start the timer and get these going. Let's keep the night going. Let's keep the listings rolling. Trying not to stay up past 6 a.m. this morning, because I actually want to get some sleep tonight. Okay, well, unfortunately 6 a.m. is where I'm going to draw the line here. Not going to be getting any more listings done for yesterday, or today as I'd call it, because I'm still working on yesterday's number and all that. But here are all the photos I took of all those items there, 164 in total. It's all kinds of different lenses and things like that. Just took a little bit too long to clean, test, and get all that stuff prepped and ready. Break it down in a little bit more efficient manner, but that's usually how it works out. Stay up all night, don't get a lot done. So at 4 items today from this morning, and then all this stuff ready for tomorrow. Let's get up tomorrow and let's hit the ground running, get this stuff done, and I get some more stuff done and hopefully make up for that. Should work out. Be up by probably noon again and get all this stuff ready to go. Also those Hasselblad backs and just a bunch of other really good stuff. So I guess that's about it for the vlog for today. Thanks for watching. Wasn't a crazy one, wasn't super exciting, but hopefully enjoyed nonetheless. Like, comment, subscribe below if you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more vlogs coming tomorrow. Wheeler out. Goodbye.